Mr Deputy Speaker. Well, I can only say the member for Berowra has done this same old thing, trotted out the political games, blamed the other side, but ignore the very real issue. 7 years in detention. All members that condone that should be ashamed of themselves. I thank the member for Scullin for bringing forward this motion. Like many others in this place, I received the petition referenced in the motion, signed by over 65,000 people, calling on the Prime Minister to accept the New Zealand offer and to resettle the remaining refugees. Currently, there are 290 people remaining in Papua New Guinea and on Manus Island. There is an offer from New Zealand to take up to 150 asylum seekers from PNG and Manus, and that offer per year, and that offer has been on foot for 7 years. This could have all been dealt with by now. There would be no refugees left in PNG or Manus had we taken up the offer back in 2013 when it was first made. So with due respect for the member for Berowra, that what he just said to the House is just an insult to proper management of people that are in distress and being held without proper process. We're keeping refugees in indefinite detention without hope of release or knowledge of where they will ever call home. They've suffered immensely. They're separated from their families and loved ones. They've been left without hope for 7 years and are destitute physically and emotionally. I was proud to represent Australia on numerous occasions on the world scene, but I'm definitely not proud of this. Craig Foster is not proud of this, nor is Sonny Bill Williams and many others. There are stories and videos on the gameover.org.au website, and I'd urge you all to go and watch them. Listen to Adam's story, Samad's story, Moz's story. Then tell me again why you think these people should be kept in indefinite detention. Mohammed is a former farmer from Sudan. He hasn't seen his 2 young daughters for 7 years. One of them he's never met. She was born after. He worries about them every minute of every day. While locked up on Manus, his wife was murdered. He found out on a short weekly call and he was allowed to make, and he has to live with that reality for years. He's been stranded on Port Moresby. He's tired, sick beyond his endurance. He just wants his freedom so he can rebuild his life. And his is just one of many stories collected by the Game Over campaign, being championed by Craig Foster, Sonny Bill Williams, Amnesty International and many others. We all need to call time on the 7 years of detention these refugees have suffered and demand the government finally accept the offer on the table from New Zealand. It is absolute rubbish to stand in this place and justify this ongoing cruel policy. Offshore detention and management of facilities is costing Australian taxpayers over $1 billion a year. I would urge the Morrison government to consider how that money could much better be spent in actually standing up for some humanitarian conduct and actually taking proper care of what needs to be done at home. Last month I spoke on this issue with the Ngami Peace and Justice Group, who I met with, and I reiterated their calls for more funding for the Status Resolution Support Services. Another group I recently met with was the On Arrival Detainee Support Group. They're highlighting the plight of refugees in alternative places of detention. They were brought to Australia under Medivac legislation, and we know how well that's working out for them. They've raised their concerns around an inability for people to be referred for specialist health treatment. One of those is Moz, a Kurdish refugee who escaped his home after a siege. He's a talented musician who has inspired many others through his songwriting. He dreams of a life filled with music. He spent 7 years in Papua New Guinea with severe asthma until he was medevaced at the end of 2019. But instead of getting the treatment he requires, Moz remains trapped in a hotel, unable to leave, with no knowledge of what's next. So with due respect to government members, and I would say both sides of this chamber, both parties have condoned policies that have been incredibly inhumane on legitimate refugees. Whilst we take a completely perverse approach to these people seeking asylum, we have an influx of people coming in through the airlines and coming by other means. It's time we call time on this policy. These people deserve to be resettled. Accept the New Zealand offer and get on it. Call Game Over.